Hey guys, welcome back to the NVIDIA GeForce Hearthstone Pro-Am tournament. It's Frodan Nimsh hanging out with you guys. Appreciate you guys sticking with the entire tournament. We know that so far we've had some interesting results. We had Strife Crew taking out RDU to start things off, then Fortune taking out Gara. So I would guess the fan favorites have been winning the series overall, and then we're going to lead into Hyped versus Trump, where I guess depending on what camp you're leaning towards, I would peg Trump as the fan favorite, but who knows? Maybe Hype's been gaining a lot of popularity in Steam recently. I think he comes in as the favorite for the series, considering the prestige. But I think people shouldn't underestimate Trump. He's a
Oh,
player that
definitely.
I think people always write off just because he's been around for so long, and they see him more as the guy that plays arena and occasionally dips into constructed. But people forget that he hit number one legend, and his paladin deck has been pretty strong recently.
Oh yeah, and, like even recently, Trump was delving into Hunter and getting drunk with power, where he had like top three legend or even the legend number one with his Hunter deck. So for this round versus Hype, he will be bringing his Hunter, where Hype will be bringing his Rogue that he got famous for. So definitely an interesting matchup, seeing one of the top streamers and an excellent player facing Hyped, who is one of the top players, definitely one of the most recognized NA players. And yeah, well, what do you think has an advantage with the lineups here?
It really depends on what mage it is, right? If Hype brought Freeze Mage, which he did yesterday in Kingwin, or was it 2 days ago? Depends. I don't know. My time zone's a little bit off. But if it's Freeze Mage, then he does have to worry about two classes which are great against it. Actually, three if you think about it. The Hunters can be pretty good pressure as well. So that
Yeah.
could be his great weakness. Now, if it's just maybe the Flood Mage, maybe he's playing the Tempestone Flood Mage. I'm not sure. I haven't seen that matchup much against Warrior. I would have to imagine it's okay, not amazing, but if you get a good mirror entity off, then you'd win. I guess we'll cross that bridge later because these guys are going to go with Rogue versus Druid to start things off.
All right, and the Trump's hand is amazing with his Druid, double White Grove, Piloted Shredder, and a coin as well. That's definitely something you want to see as a Druid. Get those White Groves early and then have an amazing curve. But Hype is going to start with his Rogue deck, and he is playing Edwin as well. Edwin being a card that at some point got rotated out, like people tried different free drops, but then it seems like he's back in the current metagame. And
Yeah,
Black
I'm
as
I'm
well.
I'm usually not sold on double wild growth, but in this scenario, I think it's all right. Just because you don't really get a chance to play both sometimes. If you pick up a three drop, for example, then you're not going to be playing that wild growth for basically until you want to cycle it, unless you want to start pushing for like an early combo. So in this scenario, though, because Trump doesn't have anything to do on 3 mana, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, definitely. And also he has Ancient of Lore, which is a very important card to fill your hand after all those Wild Growths are gone. For Hype, though, it's a different kind of rogue. Like, we already see Dr. Boom and the Black Knight. So it's like, as we mentioned before, there's a couple of builds that Oil Rogue can play. And some of the people, they play double Gadgets, and some people not play Edwin, they play double Oil. They don't play Dr. Boom, they play double Sprint. And sometimes you can play Boom as well. So now the question is, what exactly is this version? Is there one sprint only? Is there Gadgetzan? Is it like even different than that? Hyped is one of the innovators. Like, he was the one who was really tweaking Miracle Rogue in its prime. And if
Oh
somebody
yeah,
makes, yeah,
yeah. I mean, even Oil Rogue. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I was just agreeing with you. You don't have to.
no, I'm like, yeah,
Don't
I know.
mind old Grandpa Frodan just agreeing with you, remembering the good old days of Miracle Rogue.
Good old
On
days
my
of the
rocket
Hype
chair.
Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, even the Oil Rogue too, hyped was trying to push for it. He's a large reason, on top of a few other players, of why it came back in popularity in their past couple of weeks. Hyped, he has to deal with a Pilot Sky Golem, a card that people have written off. Why aren't we seeing more Pilot Sky Golems? Considering the value of it, right? It's can be comparable to Savannah High main, but Mech Tribe.
I think like in most of the decks, there's just not enough space. When you look at your deck overall and you see your 6 drops and 5 drops, how would you curve into the Piloted Sky Golem? Most of the players make the decision that, hey, I can't afford another creature that's not a taunt, and it's not really pushing my strategy forward. But in a Druid, it's a card that you can actually use. We've seen Life Coach use it before. Well, actually, many players use the card because when you ramp, it is an amazing card. I think Strifecrawl's using it in a Paladin deck as well. So there's always a choice, like, what do you want as a 6 drop? Do you want something like Paladin Sky Golem? Do you want a Black Knight? Do you want Sylvanas? What else is there that you can actually play? Like, even if you play Harrison Jones, you have to decide if you want to play Harrison Jones or the Sky Golem, because it's kind of like taking the same slot in the deck.
That's a fair criticism. Now, one thing I really like about the Sky Golem, though, is the stickiness of it. Similar to Cairn, but even more power. And the 6 damage is very relevant, especially if you're playing a deck that relies on pressure like Druid. So I'm not against it. It's just, it definitely feels like, oh yeah, if you told me Trump played Pilot Sky Golem, I wouldn't bat an eye. I'd be like, yeah, it makes total sense.
There is a lot of value in the card.
Oh yeah, big time. Picks up Big Game Hunter and Innervate, which will be very strong against the Dr. Boom that comes out inevitably. Hythe picks up the Azure Drake. That's an excellent draw. And that Azure Drake will... Ooh, gets Thaunos.
That's not bad.
Wow.
That's spell damage for Rogue and a card draw.
I mean, he's basically inviting a swipe. And if your opponent doesn't have swipe, then he has to deal with the repercussions of leaving the Azure Drake up, at least.
Yeah, what do you do being Trump here? You are definitely behind in the game, and you only have 1 taunt. So normally, if there will be an empty board, I would love to play something like double Pilot Shredder or Pilot Shredder and Sky Golem. But then with this kind of board with spell damage, you definitely want to do something like maybe Shapeshift and kill the 1/1 to just deny some spell damage. Then you're left with 6. The problem with Sky Golem...
God, I hate the fact that this Drake might live. Just because, it's just so annoying to have to deal with that. Trump taking the approach where he wants to get the stickiest minion on board. And also, if his opponent had Sap and he dropped Pilot Sky Golem or something else, it's, again, very weak. This Thaunos picking up an extra draw is so clutch, though.
So for now, it's more about the board presence and then the board fight than just pushing for damage on any of the sides. So Hype is going to clear the board a bit, see what's going to get from the Shredder. Do you risk Boom?
I don't know. It's not even that great because your opponent can clear with just a swipe. If you trade into the 3/2 with your Azure Drake and you play Dr. Boom, like just swipe alone will clear it. But I guess you tested for swipe because he would have had it, right?
I like Sap, I think, on the Piloted Shredder. Oh, no, this is much better. Like, I was thinking exactly, try to clear, maybe leave 1 minion, and then start dealing damage and build up a board, because Druid is really bad at coming from behind. And you've seen that there is no swipe before, because swipe was an excellent play last turn.
That's true. Van Cleef is very powerful, too. The 6/6 it challenges everything really well, not to mention that it's a lot of damage, which could be threatening lethal.
No keeper for Trump, so he can't silence it. How do you deal with the 6/6? Like, even... You might be
Force of Nature trades. Yeah, Force of Nature trades into it. And then you can play Shade. But that really stinks. If your opponent has a single Blade Flurry, you're done.
What about just playing Scenarios?
And just buffing it? Oh, you're saying trade and
yeah, trade a 4/4 and the 4/3. Oh, and then play Scenarios and hope that there is no AoE that can deal with the 2/2s.
feel like that's really optimistic. But that's what he goes for. And it's like we said, it's one of those things where if your opponent has the Blade Flurry, then, God bless, good luck, Godspeed. But he doesn't have it. So Hyped instead has to figure out what he wants to do. If his Azure Drake picks up like Fan of Knives or a Blade Flurry, that'd be pretty nice and convenient.
That would be huge. That would be really important. But then, like, this matchup is very tricky. From the Druid's perspective, like, you have to play around so many things. And as Trump did, like, right now he just plays scenarios because it's a great play, and he's not playing around the AoE. So he took a guess. Like, if there is no AoE, that scenarios is putting me in a good spot, and I've already seen one sap. But, like, even if scenarios get sapped, I'm still getting the 2/2s back. So it's very difficult. Like, overall, I think that normally Druid might have an advantage, but then Trump's version might be more rampy. And then Rogue will have an advantage. Also, like, Hype's version is different. So it's kind of, like, really hard to say which deck is poised better to win this particular matchup.
I don't mind this play. You keep Van Cleef highly relevant. And if he drops the 2/2s again, you're going to be really powerful. Not to mention that you have Eviscerate's potential finisher.
Yeah, right now Trump is behind. And Hype is just pushing, having a good board that's hard to deal with. There's still no swipe.
Yeah, this was the big problem with scenarios. I didn't feel like it did much on board. But then again, nothing else really did, to be quite fair. And, well, now he's in a position where I don't know if Trump can peel out of this one easily. It's like the same exact scenario. Like, he can try clearing, but this time he's even further behind on board.
Maybe
like, he tried clearing
again
with Force of Nature, but that's about it.
You just replay scenarios. You just kill the free one with a 2/3 and then play scenarios again. It's a really tough spot. Like, whatever, you know at least that sap is spent. Like, both saps were used. Maybe you can play Piloted Sky Golem, but then how much damage do you take next turn? You're getting attacked for 10 at least, so you have to protect yourself and devolve the board at the same time.
Yeah, that's what Scenarios does best here. But one single AoE, right, in that game?
Yeah, also there is an Azure Drake that can possibly get something there.
Ooh, yeah, now he has the preparation. He might be able to prep Fan, prep Blade Flurry.
Ascension?
Not prep Ascension, though. That is really interesting. Huh.
Yeah, this is definitely a custom build.
Yeah, a hyped special, if you will. Eviscerate the small target, push for damage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Providing 6 points of damage.
Might as well just drop the Ascension.
He's not playing around Mind Control Tech.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Mind Control Tech is not really a card that we see very often. A second Force of Nature. Okay, so Trump's playing also a very mana-heavy Druid. He's got 2 Force of Natures, and he's got the Pilot Sky Golem. Although you made a good point. Maybe substitute Sylvanas.
Yeah, it seems like he might be playing a standard version of Druid, more or less, but then his hand got really awkward. He never got his swipes, keepers, or even a Savage Roar. And also the fact that Hype was able to get sap on a Piloted Sky Golem, essentially giving him, 4 mana crystals for free. Even though Trump had this double White Grove start with Piloted Shredders, it didn't really work his way.
This Van Cleef's insane. It's done like, what? It's going to be doing like 18 damage this game. This Azure Drake needs to pick up Swipe or something. Keeper of the Grove.
Not really.
That's about it. So Trump taps out game 1 and Hype's Rogue ends up taking it out. Jots down a couple notes, and Trump just didn't have enough time. Like, his cards are great, but Like that hand had like 40 like even if he had 40 mana in one turn, I don't think he'd be able to play everything. That's just how stacked it is. So it was in very dire straits for a while. And it's funny because he started off with 2 wild growths, remember? So shouldn't he
Yeah.
hypothetically be able to play anything that comes out?
Yeah, it's like one of the problems with Druid as well. Even though you have a lot of great cards like Ancients of Lore and Sky Golems and Druid of the Claw, you only have a certain amount of mana, so you can basically play like one card each turn. And in those rare cases, you can actually fill in with Shade of Naxxramas, but it's tough. But this is Conquest format and a hyped one with Rogue, so his Rogue is eliminated. He won't be able to play it again. He still has his Mage and Druid. He has to win with them. This is the best of 5 Conquest, which means if you win with a deck, then you can't replay the deck, and you have to win with every deck at least once to win the whole match.
That's right. Also, it's a great way to remind people about what's going on. So we're watching the pro section of the tournament, everybody. So there's 16 players that we've invited out. I can go ahead and read them. It's RDU Strife Crow, Kalento Amaz, Freshka Gara, Forsen, Trump, Hyped, Ping Ping Ho, 6-0 Raynad, Tides of Time, Firebat, Tice, and Faramir. So that's basically a star-studded cast. That's a premier tournament round of 16 for sure. So what we do is we have these 16 players play those 8 weeks for seeding and making sure that they get qualified to the round of 32. Meanwhile, you have the open players playing their own Swiss 8 weeks and trying to get the best 16 players there. From there, we have 32 players where they play for $25,000 prize pool and a bunch of world championship points for later this year for the global finals. So, it's all online, and NVIDIA is bringing out this great stuff. So make sure to go ahead and thank them, and make sure to hit the follow button on the channel because we'll be doing this every week at Thursday, and we'll be able to see really cool matches. We can't pull everything. Like I know everyone's like, Kalento versus Maz, we should watch that. Unfortunately, we can't do all of those at the same time. There's only so much limited broadcast space, but hope you guys enjoy the matches we have so far. We also have one more too. So after Hype versus Trump, who do we have, Nimsh?
We will have 6-0 versus Reynad, a grudge match, kind of. Like those guys faced each other before. And
yes,
there was a bit of a cat fight, let's say, and some, shots fired and stuff. So I'm definitely excited to see that to close the day for today.
I like it. It's delicious.
But we still have Mayor of Valley Town versus Hyped from Temple Storm. And,
that's right. Hyped, I like the rogue techs. I want to see what else does he have. I want to see what Trump brought too. Maybe he's playing more that mid-range warrior as opposed to control warrior. Maybe he's playing mid-range hunter, or I remember seeing Trump bring a mech hunter one time. I don't think it was particularly very good. Yeah, he played at the Legendary Series, and I remember he got to the semifinals. Oh wait, no. He got stopped at the round of 8 against Magic Amy. That's right.
Well, he was playing a lot of mid-range hunter on while laddering. So if he has a hunter, I would say it's a mid-range hunter. But right now the players are ready for the next round, and Trump is going to take Druid again. Hyped, he's taking his Mech Mage, which is a bad matchup for Trump. But we already see some interesting cards like Blinktron.
Yeah, so I remember Raynad was experimenting with Blinktron and Mech Mage. A few other people would too, but he was the one who won his tournament with it because Snow Chugger and the Water Elemental would keep the opponent frozen, and they couldn't use the weapon that they benefited off of. So Blinktron was highly, highly effective because it got you some damage in. Because at worst, what's the worst weapon that can come off it? Light's Justice?
Yeah, I think Light's Justice might be the worst. Like, for you personally, but for your opponent, the worst will be like Doomhammer, Garhol. But then if your opponent is frozen, it doesn't matter.
Bow. Right, exactly. So, it's one of those things where Blinktron at worst will do 4 damage to your opponent's face.
Also, you're actually the first one to use the weapon because you play Blinktron. It is a mech, it has an okay stats, and then you have the weapon, you can use it at the same turn.
Yeah, its stats are pretty forgettable. I mean, it's a 3/4 body. It's nothing special.
So here we already see that Hype is having an advantage with a great start. Mech Warper into Snow Chugger. He is curving well into that piloted Shredder. He can also play 2 more mechs if he wants to, Harvest Golem and another Snow Chugger. Where Trump, we know, is playing the heavy version with no taunts, like the combo, but no taunts. He didn't have the Wild Growth, so he will be playing on curve.
Yeah. I think I like Snow Chugger Harvest Golem because you benefit more directly off the mana gained from Mech Warper. Even though it's clunkier mana wise in the future, not only can you play Pilot Shredder cheaper anyway, on curve anyways, even if it's cheaper, but you gain extra mana so that way these cards can slide out faster, more damage.
Yeah, I like it as well.
Oh,
He gets
Nitron.
Nitron. It's perfect.
That convenient.
Yeah,
And
so
inconvenient for Trump.
Trump is definitely not happy about this matchup. Just losing versus Rogue, which was tricky, and now having Druid into one of the worst matchups that he can possibly face. Even though it seems like Hyped is not playing Mad Scientists and Mirror Entities, still it's really tough.
Yeah, well, Blingtron should be able to help him push through, and then he can keep the Snow Chugger frozen onto Trump's face, so he can't utilize his weapon.
So
The
what are the
alternatives, there's a lot. I mean, just even a Fiery War Axe would be pretty useful.
Yeah, because he is the one. Like, you do have
Yeah.
freezes on board, and
Right.
there's like a lot of good weapons you can get, but Hype actually decides not to risk bad RNG here.
Right. I mean, if your opponent gets like you said, Doomhammer or like Gore Howl or Gladiator's Longbow. Actually, interesting question here. I don't really see Gladiator's Longbow much. It's a hunter weapon that makes you immune. If you use Longbow to attack into a Snow Chugger, since you're not taking damage, you don't get frozen, right?
Depends on the card text. I think you are still. I don't remember.
It says like freeze any minion deal damage. Because for example, if you have a Divine Shield and you trade into a Snow Chugger, you actually don't get frozen. So
If it's like
interesting
freeze
food for thought.
Yeah. Like if you freeze a minion that you dealt damage to, you're not getting damage.
Oh, he's got Gladiator's Longbow.
Whoa!
That's awesome.
Huge. And Trump already knows that this is a tough spot here.
Oh man, True Silver Champion is useless.
Any weapon would be useless.
Dog, Trump just got owned. Oh man.
And also, like, we kind of missed it, but that Lothep totally sealed turn 6 for Trump. Like, he wasn't able to play anything, just shapeshift.
You're right. Just shapeshift. It was that was the best he could do. Instead, he has to heal now. 5, 8, 10, 12, 14. Trump's 1 damage off lethal.
And he gets a Blast Mage, so he just needs to hit once.
Pretty high chances. And
Hit face.
no,
He missed.
Wow. I was actually ready for the game to end there. Hyped. Not going to be bothered by it whatsoever. Too good looking to be stressed. Just ends up brushing that off and attacking the face anyways. Tinkertown Technician is perfectly fine here. Or if he wants to ping for the 1 damage.
Do you even kill the 5-3 with the weapon? Just and play the 4-4.
I mean,
Like
it's going to trade into the Blast Mage. Yeah, I don't see a reason to keep your weapon. You're gonna hit face with it, but I think killing off the Ancient of Lore is fine.
Yeah, it's definitely fine. Like, there's nothing that can stop the damage next turn. Well, double swipe maybe.
Oh, I feel bad for Trump, man. He just got steamrolled by Mech Mage, and it wasn't even a fight, Nimsh. Like, you know, it was just a straight up like Hype gave Trump a big wedgie, pulled his underpants over Trump's eyebrows, and then gave him a swirly. Like, I don't know, it was really bad, super
Sometimes
one-sided.
it happens. Sometimes it happens if you bully. But if you bully the mayor of Valleytown, he can come back at you. You know, Trump still has all those free decks. Maybe he will actually pick something else than a druid, and then Hype is left with his own druid.
Mhm.
So maybe now it's time for Trump to actually come back and take a couple of wins from druid, and we end up in the game 5 where Trump is getting lots of value. It can still happen.
It definitely can. The last remaining deck from Hyped is the Druid deck. It's gonna be tough because there's Warrior, and Trump has to beat the Druid with Warrior. But Hunter versus Druid is doable. Druid versus Druid is definitely doable. I mean,
At least it's a
not.
50-50.
Yeah.
But yeah, Druid versus Warrior might be tricky. But depends on the Warrior build. I believe Forsen said that he has a build of Warrior that wins versus Druid 100% of the time. So if you remove cards that are good versus other matchups, and if you get your Warrior to be good versus Druid, then you might actually win that. So yeah, like Trump is not out of this match yet. He can still come back, but then Hype is definitely having an advantage. A Druid is a class that can win versus everything almost.
All right, can Trump do it?
A mirror
It's
match.
gonna be really tough, but the mirror match is a great way to start off. If you can toss away this all and get wild growth, I think he'd be happy with it. Hypes in the meantime, nothing really worth keeping.
Well, we already see that
Yeah.
Hype is also running the combo version.
Right. I mean, I haven't seen Ramp Druid make a big comeback yet. Have you?
We've seen Team Nihilum playing a kind of like a different Druid version with Nourish and some more greedy minions, but then the Taunt Druid is kind of out of the question because of Rogue being popular. So no people are just not playing it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the combo and Ramp are kind of. I think like combo is still the most popular deck, which is like double Savagery, double Force of Nature.
Yeah. All right, so Hype throws it away. He's playing. Ooh.
Toshly.
He's playing the Silent Storm Druid. So Toshly, the reason why it's like so interesting is because the spare parts synergize pretty decently across the board with Druid. The +1 health is surprisingly effective for trades. +1 attack is obviously really good for trades as well. Not to mention that it's the 15th point of damage in Savage Roar Force of Nature. The stealth is pretty good, so that way, for the combo, it's kind of like Shade. And then, the tempo gain from the freeze is good. Like, pretty much anything is good. The switch is obviously amazing.
Yeah, basically whatever you get is all right. Like even the coolant, if you're racing, just freeze something. So
I could have gone through all of them. The only thing we didn't talk about was Time Rewinder, which is the least amazing thing. But when you have Violet Teachers in the deck, it actually synergizes pretty decently.
Druid of a Claw is a charge as well. You can always just if you have a cat on board, you can return it. And even with like BGH, just you can use any spare part. But then this time Trump actually having all right, this hand is not that good for Trump. He did play that Azure Drake on free, but he doesn't really have a good turn 4 play. He has that swipe, double Savage Roar. Trump is getting really funky hands.
Yeah, the 2 Savage Roar is just clunky and bad. It's one of those things where it can trade up if your opponent gets an early Druid of the Claw, but generally speaking, it's not what you want. Yeah, coin swipe is okay because your opponent did draw a card off Azure Drake, but he spent an Innervate to do it. So worst comes to worst, you're going even. It's just that, again, you give initiative to your opponent, and Trump misses his drop. Nothing to play on turn 4. That is a really big deal.
Normally, you do have those Piloted Shredders, you have Keepers, you have Shade of Nextramas, you have so many cards you could normally play. But then, yeah, just seriously Piloted Shredder, why now? It's really draining. Like, if you're playing versus Hyped and you already lost 2 games with this deck, you trust your Druid, you liked your Druid, and then your Druid betrays you in such an important match. So now Hyped has the tools.
Yeah, I don't really mind
Wrath?
Either of the 5 drops here. Oh, you were in a Wrath.
Yeah, like 5 drops are fine. Like whatever you play is probably okay.
Yeah.
You can, but then you can think about Wrathing. Is Wrathing alright? Do you want to Wrath?
The thing about it is that Wrath doesn't lead into anything else too easy. If you drop the big game hunter, it's pretty easy to get destroyed by Keep of the Grove and Hero Power. So I think Lotheb's okay, just because it challenges the most stats. The taunt's okay because, like you said, if the Drake went into it, then you'd be able to Wrath it.
I like Lotheb because after Lotheb and Azure Drake attacking into the 3/5, your opponent won't be able to Wrath. So you know that if he wants to finish off the Violet Teacher, he will have to use the Hero Power, which is additional 3 points of damage and 2 points of mana.
Yeah.
So you kind of ensure that Violet Teacher is going to survive next turn. Or deal more damage.
Well, this Pilot Shredder is nice to just have something to challenge Lotheb while still having something stick.
Double Wrath. Wow, that's actually a good card to get.
Well, it's good because it fills out the rest of the mana curve. So let's see what happens off this Wrath first. Noyotron.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Nimsh.
That's always annoying. But then he has the Hero Power and he can kill with Lotheb. Nurture is one of the best cards in GG.
I guess the silver lining is that it's not doing much damage to Lotheb back. So if your opponent wanted to deal with it, he has to take 4 mana at least.
Yeah, so Hybe is still in the saddle. Like, he's still the one who is aggressive, having a minion on board. And having, well, maybe not more mana, but basically he can trade with Ancient of Lore and then play something for 7, like Dr. Boom. And Trump is having all the spells. Fortunately for him, he got some minions, but just double Wrath, double Surger.
Huh.
Compare this hand for Trump to game 1, when he only had minions.
Now he only has spells. And he drew them in the wrong order.
Yeah.
You know, if he just drew his Wraths and his Wild Growth early on and his Savage Wrath later, could have been a very different game. Hyped an interesting spot where he can take full initiative on the board, Dr. Boom to take the initial trade. I don't think he even has to trade here. Yeah, I like this attack a lot.
At this spot, Hyped is not in any danger, so he can just use damage because Trump will have to trade. It's not like Trump can go for face. And Trump didn't get a BGH, so he is in a really weird spot. Or he will have to probably swipe and double Wrath.
He can also Savage Roar swipe. He already has 2 anyways.
With swipe and double Wrath, he might keep the 5/5 on board.
Oh, you're right.
Then he's not drawing cards from Wraths.
You're not really playing for card advantage though.
The more I think about it, the more I like the Wrath, double Wrath swipe, so that you keep the minion on board. If you Savage Roar and swipe, then you basically lose a minion. But with swipe double Wrath, you can maybe come back if your minion survives.
Swipes first. Takes 7 damage. Oh my goodness.
Oh wow. He's
brutal.
Already in range of the combo.
Yeah, I mean his opponent will have only 8 mana. But like you said, Nimsh, he is within killing range.
I like the play that he actually has the minion right now, so Hyped has to develop something. And there is not like, if there is no combo, then Druid doesn't have that many charge minions, only Druid of the Claw. But then for Hyped, it doesn't matter that much. He has the Force.
Yeah, I like putting out the Toshli right now because it's like really powerful to get that stats on the board plus the spare part, which might be super effective.
Yeah, like looking at Toshli right now, having a 5/7, it's so good versus those 5/5 minions. Like it trades with Lotheb, with Ancient of Lore, with Sludge Belcher. The stats are actually amazing on Toshli.
Well, it's distributed just right. 6 mana, 6/6 or 6/7. That's usually the stat line. Is Boulder Fist Ogre is a card that people don't really talk about, but it is the card that you measure stats against raw in terms of just raw numbers for a 6-drop. And Toshi is comparable to that. 5/7 gives you 2 extra cards to utilize, which synergizes with things like Violet Teacher, Gadgetzan Auctioneer, Antonitis, etc.
Yeah. But then again, like you don't really need 6 attack on a minion to trade with most of the popular drops.
Well, other than this, very inconveniently held Druid of the Claw.
Exception.
But you're normally absolutely right.
So this is not enough yet for hype to. Can Trump actually? Wow. Actually,
Are you worried about dying on the other end because the possibility of Savage Roar with Force of Nature finishing you off? Do you have to play double taunt because you're afraid of that?
Well, actually, Trump will be able to double Savage Roar and Keeper for 2 points of damage. And if Hyped is not careful enough and leaves 2 minions on board, how much damage would that be?
So it's 9 plus 12, so that's 21.
That would be lethal.
That's assuming Hype
Doesn't
drops Sylvanas, right, and then leaves everything up. That's assuming he doesn't play 2 taunts.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm anticipating him dropping taunts because double 5. Oh, actually, no, he doesn't. Oh my goodness, he only has 9 mana. What the heck?
If Hype uses Shapeshift, then he is out of range. Well, with such Belcher, it's different. That's really close, actually.
Yep. Cute. Using the stealth on the big game hunter.
So Trump can deal 12 plus 9, 21 points of damage. Just
right.
So he's 2 damage off lethal.
Meanwhile, staring down potential lethal.
It's actually amazing how close this game was, and that's the Druid versus Druid for you.
Does he have to? Does he have to hope for something off his Pilot Shredder? He can silence. He can silence the Sledge Belcher, trade it, and trade with Toshli, and then develop the Sky Golem.
Yeah, and for Trump, getting a taunt maybe that would be good.
Frostwolf Grunt hype.
Yeah, that would be the moment.
I feel like that's the best available play in terms of sheer board impact. And you just have to play as if your opponent has no such thing as Force of Nature Savage Roar.
Oh, he gets it for free.
Succubus. Definitely one of the best outcomes possible.
And he's not dead yet because Hyped has 10 points of damage, 11. Yeah, Trump is not dead. But there is this coolant that will be very important. That was actually an amazing card to get.
Yeah, the coolant is so sick, right? So sick in this position.
Basically denies 6 points of mana for 1. That's why spur parts are so powerful. I'm really excited about Toshi getting it back to the metagame and being played in both mage decks and druid decks.
So you used Keeper. That means Sylvanas will become much stronger. You have a freeze so that you can develop something else and gain back some tempo, which means you can drop the Shade of Naxxramas. So that seems to be the best course of action here.
Yeah, Shade Sylvanas.
The alternative is to play Druid of the Claw, but that's a lot weaker, I think.
If you play Druid of the Claw, you can attack face. If you play Sylvanas, you will have to probably trade with for free.
Oh, is he trading for the entire board? Oh, wow. No, he mixes it up.
There is a swipe. So
Okay.
if Trump uses a swipe and hero power, can he still survive? There will be 10 points of damage incoming. Nope. Trump is dead. He needs to draw something from Wild Growth. He can't even kill those well, all right, he can actually kill those minions, but he needs to draw something to survive. The Shade, a hero power attack, and Force of Nature.
Oh, that
Keeper,
works.
it
Right.
doesn't help. He's still dead.
Oh, because the hero power doesn't negate
Yeah,
it.
there's like 10 unconditional damage coming.
So it looks like that's it then. Hype
Yep.
takes the series. I mean, that was a really good ability to spot a puzzle to guarantee lethal if opponent doesn't have a taunt. So obviously, Hype, much better player, and doing a lot of good stuff this series overall. Trump drops a series 0-3 on his first attempt here, and looks like we're gonna have a very quick series number 3 here, Nimsh.
Oh yeah, that was quick, but still, I think Trump just got. He played well. He made good choices. He wasn't. He was a bit unlucky with the draws. Like as we mentioned, first game he got mostly minions, even though he got the wild growths, so he wasn't able to capitalize on that. And Hype was kind of countering whatever Trump did anyway. And the game three, mostly spells in a mirror match. You never want to be there. And still, he was really close to winning game number 3 with only 2 damage of lethal. So Trump is definitely not eliminated from the tournament. I will see more of Trump in upcoming rounds. Not today though, but we will be doing it, guys, for the next 8 weeks. So definitely Trump will show up at some point with his decks. I'm a bit sad that we didn't see the Warrior and Hunter from Trump, mostly Druid, but then, well, he concealed the information. So for the
It
next
was
match, we'll
all
have.
yeah, it was all Druid.
Yeah,
He lost 0-3 with Druid.
maybe next
Well,
time he's
that's
not going to bring it.
yeah, I mean that's the case in point. But I also thought that like Hype definitely was playing really well too,
Oh, yeah.
even though Trump did have some draws that were definitely not favorable. There were some really good moves made by him overall. So good stuff. That ends the third series. That means we have one more remaining. We have Reynad versus 6-0. That should be one hell of a time.
Oh,
Just
man.
because there's a lot riding on that. More than just points in the league here. There's a lot of pride going on to that series. We'll be back in just a little bit, guys. We're going to reset ourselves when we come back. The final match of the day, Reynad versus 6-0. Stay tuned.